Do you know which one of us lived on another continent for almost a whole year?
You're gonna have to keep watching to find out.
Hi everyone, welcome to week 31 of Around the World with Joshua and Alyssa.
Yep.
And we're happy to be back with you, and we're happy that you're back with us. So over the next few weeks, Alyssa is going to tell us about Peru because she is the one who lived there for almost a year.
Yep, that was me. I went to Peru with a program, and I'll explain a little bit more next week. And my time in Peru changed my life. I look at life completely differently than I did before. And so I want to tell you lots of things about Peru, and then maybe you'll kind of understand how it changed me. And you can even think about going on a trip like that someday. I think anybody who's interested in missions or anybody who has the time to go and take a trip like that, it is a huge life-changing event. And it's cool for you to learn another language, to visit another country and see how they do things, and then to see and get to know believers around the world. That's probably the best part right there.
Yeah, I agree.
I want to show you pictures first of where I lived in Peru. So when I went to Peru, this was my roommate. Her name is Lydia. You might recognize her from some videos we did a few weeks ago talking about where she is now, and that is Hong Kong. But we lived together in Peru, and we lived with a Peruvian family. And I'll explain a little bit more what we did as teammates when we were there probably next week. But the city of Lima is the capital city of Peru. And when you look at this picture, it looks really kind of foggy, hazy, and there's a lot of mountains. It is on the coast, but Lima only gets a ½ inch of rain every year. That's it, only ½ inch. It's super desert, and when it does rain, it's kind of only this cloudy, misty kind of stuff, which is how they only get a ½ inch of rain. For the most part, it's pretty dry and dusty. Now, if you go to different parts of Peru, it looks way different. Lima just happens to be in the desert and in a very, very dry spot in the desert. So when I had to get off to go to my house, which is outside Lima a little bit, I had to say Kiosco, and this was like my little bus stop. Now that's not my house. Oh. My house was down the street and then halfway down the next hill. But this was the closest spot that the bus could drop me off. And when we traveled on the bus, I had to be able to tell the bus driver where I wanted to get off. So I learned this word really fast, and our family kind of laughed at us because we didn't want to miss our stop. So sometimes we would yell it at the bus driver to make sure he didn't miss it. And after a while, the bus drivers all knew where we lived too, because we're the two white girls that needed to get off at the little kiosco. But anyways, our neighborhood had a couple really nice parks in it.
Pretty.
Yeah, lots of really pretty green grass, but you're only gonna find the nice pretty green grass in a park. You can see like to the right and up the hill a little bit from where we are in the picture, it's just all brown and dusty. That would be what it would look like normally. Somebody comes and cares for this grass, waters it, cuts it all with a little weed whacker, but there's not just green grass growing everywhere. They have to pay attention to it a little bit more. And then you can see behind us the mountains, and they're really just tall and very dusty during the whole year. They get a little bit cloudy during their winter months, which would be our summer months, because they're in the southern hemisphere, so their temperatures and everything are flipped from us. So there's another picture of the park just right up in my neighborhood. We lived in a pretty nice neighborhood just outside of Lima. And there's a lot of things if you were to go to Lima that you'd be like, oh, I already recognize that. I know that place. Like this place, coffee, Starbucks coffee. Yeah. They had different kinds of pizza places that you'd recognize and McDonald's. And if you went to a fast food restaurant, whatever you saw pictured on the sign is how your food came to you. So like even the McDonald's sandwich, if they brought you a McDonald's sandwich, it looked just like the picture. Sometimes I feel like when we get our fast food here, it's like all squished and not as nice looking. They made it look as nice as the picture. So I was very impressed with that. But you can still order the same kind of coffee and everything. You just better know how to pronounce it in Spanish, or it might have a little different way to say it or something. They also had fun little bakery shops like this one. These are little cookies, and they're like two kind of like shortbread cookies with a caramel filling in the middle and then kind of dusted with little coconut. That's like the classic one. And they're very tasty little cookies. They are not hot dogs, in case you are wondering.
They look like hot dogs.
No, they're not.
And buns with coconut sprinkles on top.
They are not hot dogs, they're little cookies. But these are two of my other teammates, and I'll tell you a little bit more about them next week. When I was living just outside Lima, I worked with my roommate Lydia and our family, our host family that we were living with, at this small church, Misión Bautista in Viña Alta. And Viña Alta was like a little city off the main road, like there were really nice shops and grocery stores and everything, but then up this long hill was this not as nice city. And the city was just kind of built into the mountain, and people just kept building however they wanted. So sometimes the houses weren't exactly straight and everything, but they just built them themselves and had cardboard and stuff, because since it doesn't rain, they could use cardboard as part of their living structure and it would be fine because it wasn't going to get ruined with only a half inch. I think you can kind of even see that on the building that's right next to our church building. But this is our church building. It used to be a garage, and then after it was a garage, it was converted into a restaurant. So they put all these mirrors on the inside so it'd feel like a bigger space for the restaurant. And then after it was a restaurant, then it was our church. So there are mirrors everywhere, and it wasn't very big, just one room, and then it had a tiny kitchen off of it and a tiny bathroom. They put little plasticky things on part of the glass, so then when you were facing the preacher, you couldn't stare at yourself in the mirror or get distracted by that. But it was still kind of distracting because there's just mirrors everywhere, so you just kept seeing yourself wherever you were. So on Sunday mornings, we had kids club, and we didn't have like a normal service for everybody. We just did something for the kids. So we'd get there right about the time when it was supposed to start, and then we would go with our host dad's mom around the neighborhood, and we'd call out for all the kids to come to Sunday school. And sometimes we'd walk up to their houses or walk through their houses or through the little maze of streets and stairs and alleyways and whatever, and invite these kids to come. And sometimes they'd come walking with us, or they'd just run along to church, and then we'd meet them there when we were finished. So after we got done walking around the neighborhood, we'd come back and have a song time and story time from the Bible and games. The kids were always excited to do all those different things. They really liked the games a lot too. And sometimes, since the door was wide open to the street like this, sometimes we just had dogs or chickens just wander in, and we had to chase them out in the middle of stuff. And they're not like, oh, that's a cute dog. It's like yucky, smelly, gross dog.
A hot dog.
No, yucky. The kids also like to color a lot. We didn't do coloring every week, but when we did, they were excited to get out those crayons and decorate their artwork. One day a little boy came, and he was wearing a Minnesota Timberwolves shirt, so it was like a little piece of home all the way down in Peru. And somebody probably just gave it to him, but I was excited to see it because I recognized it. On Saturday nights, we would have our time of jóvenes, and that would be like all the young people from our church would get together, and we would do a game, we would study some scripture, and then we would sing a lot of songs. And we would do the same thing, kind of walk through the neighborhood and find some different people to come to our jóvenes group. And then this was one of our favorite games. We had 2 rows of chairs facing each other, and then a soccer ball in the middle, and then 1 chair on each end. And you had to try to kick the soccer ball into your other teammate's goal and work together. But you could not use your hands. That's why we're all sitting on our hands. And you were sitting every other person who was on your team to get the soccer ball. So it was fun, like playing foosball, but just with your feet.
And real people.
Mm-hmm. These were our closest friends while we were working at the church. Papo is to the left of Lydia, and then Jonathan is standing at my right. And they were really faithful in helping out at the church ministry, and we got to do a few fun things with them, and we might get let's talk about this another time. So we spent a lot of time with these guys working at our small little church. This was my little sister, Cielo, because I lived with a Peruvian family. And she was really funny. She came in, she would like stand at our doorway and talk to us, and she thought there was a monster in our closet because there was a box that somebody had drawn a face on, and she thought it was a monster. It was pretty funny. And this was my little brother. His name was Andres, and he was born right before we got to Peru. So he was a tiny baby when we first got there. And this was by my birthday in November. So he was a little bit bigger at this point, but still pretty cute and little. And then this was our host dad's mom. So she's the one we'd go around the city with to collect all the kids to come to our class with us, and she'd hang out Sunday afternoons. She didn't live nearby, she lived a long ways away, so she would just come on Sundays and spend the day with us, and Saturdays for open days time. And this was actually the day we made tacos for our family, because tacos are not a normal food in Peru. A taco is actually the heel of a woman's shoe. So we said we're gonna make tacos. They're like, So it was a fun time. We introduced them to something we thought was like, oh, you already know what tacos are, but they don't. That's a Mexican thing.
Kind of. Even they have their food a little different.
Yes, that's true.
But anyway.
But more of a Mexican thing than a Peruvian.
So, who is our missionary about this time?
We have a new missionary. It's Hudson Taylor. Do you know where he went?
At first I was thinking India, but I'm pretty sure it was China. Yes.
Good guess. Okay.
All right. Okay.
Let me tell the story then. So our new missionary is Hudson Taylor. He was a missionary to inland China. So we're going to learn about him over the next 5 weeks. So, have you ever wanted to do something really big, but you were too small or it just seemed like too big of a job? Hudson Taylor wanted to do something really big, but he was very small and kind of sickly, and not many people thought he'd be able to do what he wanted to do. When Hudson was 5 years old, they would eat supper as a family all together at night, and his dad would talk about a place far away, China. And Hudson loved to hear stories about China. He just soaked up everything his dad had to say about this far away and strange place. And his father said, why don't more missionaries go to China? There are so many people there that need to know the good news of the gospel, and they need to know all about God and learn more about his son, Jesus. Hudson said, well, when I'm a man, I will go to China. And his parents smiled at each other. They had prayed that God would give them a son and that their son would go to China someday. And God had answered. God had given them a son. But Hudson was very sick. He was so sick he couldn't even go to school until he was 11 years old. And he was very small. So his parents thought, well, maybe God has something else for him. Because maybe he's probably not strong enough to go to a faraway land like China. But God, I'm sure, has something great for him anyways. Hudson's parents were really great teachers. He learned all the things he needed to know at home, even though he was sick and didn't get to go to school. He learned how to read, he learned how to write, he learned math, he learned geography, he learned about China. But of all those subjects, reading was his favorite. He loved to read. He would read to his mom while she was sewing. He would read to her while she was cooking. He would read the Bible. He would read anything he could get his hands on. One time he had a book and he couldn't stop reading it. He wanted to just keep reading. He thought, how could I keep reading even when I'm in bed? Now, at the time when Hudson was living, they didn't have light bulbs, so he couldn't just turn on the light switch after his mom tucked him in for the night. He had to use candles. So when his mom would come and tuck him in for the night, she would take away the lamp and there would be no more light in his room. He didn't have a flashlight, so how was he going to get more light to read his book? Well, he came up with a plan that he was going to take some candles from the kitchen and he was going to stick them in his pocket and then bring them up to his room, and then when his mom left, he could read his book. That would be a great plan. Then he could finish what he wanted to read. Well, finally his chance came. They had a visitor come for supper one night, and Hudson sneaked into the kitchen. He stuck a few in his pocket and then walked back in the room to say goodnight to everyone. Well, the visitor wanted to talk to Hudson a little more, so he motioned for Hudson to come on over and to sit on his lap. And Hudson sat on his lap, but his pocket was now very close to the fire and very warm. So what's going to happen to those candles in his pocket? Well, he sat there for a while and he talked, and then finally he got to say goodnight and went off to his room. Well, he got up to his room and he checked his pants pocket, and the candles had melted inside of his pocket. His pocket was a mess of sticky, ooey gooey, slimy candles. And as he was standing there trying to figure out what to do with it, his mom came upstairs and found him. And she was disappointed to see what had happened, and Hudson felt really bad. He had taken something that didn't belong to him, and he had caused a great big mess just because he wanted to read more. So he had to apologize to his mom, and this was a lesson he remembered, and he didn't forget that, but he still did really love to read a lot. And he kept reading as he grew older. At age 13, most boys would start working and learning a trade. So Hudson went to work for his dad in his dad's apothecary shop. That's where they would make medicines and mix them together and measure them out. And Hudson really liked his work. He enjoyed working there with his father, and he kept doing his schooling. But by about age 17, he really wasn't reading the Bible much. He wasn't talking to God. He really didn't like listening when his dad talked about the Bible. But he really loved his work, and he liked making money, and he was thinking about all sorts of things he could do in life and how he could get money, and he could get a house and a horse and all the important things. But he didn't really care all that much about the things of God. Well, one day he didn't have to work, and his mother was away in town, and he was just looking around the house for something new to read, and he found a little booklet. And he opened it and he began to read it. And as he read through, the booklet was about the Bible, and it had something in it. It said, "The finished work of Jesus Christ." And he stopped. The finished work? That meant something was all the way done. Nothing more had to be done. Jesus had done it all. And he read on and he realized that Jesus had paid the penalty for his sins, and there was no more work to be done. All Hudson had to do was trust Christ as his Savior, and he would have that forever home in heaven someday, and he would have a relationship with Jesus. And he decided right there, then and there, he was going to trust Christ as his Savior. So he prayed and he told God he was trusting Christ and that he wanted to do whatever God wanted him to do. He was so excited. He ran inside the house and he told his sister Amelia right away, and she said she had been praying for her brother every day that he would trust Christ, and it was a huge answer to prayer. Well, he couldn't wait until his mom got home so he could tell her. Well, his mom got to the door and he was so excited. "I have great news to tell you." And his mom nodded. She said, "I know, I'm so glad you trusted Christ as your Savior today." He said, "What? Did Amelia tell you?" She said, "No. I was shopping in the store and I felt that I should pray for you again. I have been praying for you many times, but I felt that God wanted me to pray for you again, and that you would trust Christ as your Savior, and you would understand that Jesus has done everything for you and paid your penalty for all the wrong things you've done. And so I prayed, and I believe that you trusted Christ today." And Hudson said, "That's exactly what happened." And as they talked, he realized his mom had been praying for him right at the time he had been reading the book and had made his decision to trust Christ. That was really cool. Well, after he trusted Christ, he wanted to make sure so many more people knew about him. So he went around the city with his sister on Sunday afternoons, and they would tell people all about God, and they would tell them things about the church, and they would pass out booklets. And Hudson just had so much excitement for life, and he wanted to do whatever he could to tell other people about Jesus. And he told God, "I will go wherever you want me to go. I will do whatever you want me to do." And he felt that God answered him and told him to go to China. Now, it's not like somebody talking right next to you, but when you spend a lot of time praying and spend a lot of time in God's Word, you know a lot about God, and you know who He is, and you'll know the things He wants you to do. So Hudson felt that God wanted him to go to China. So then he had to learn everything he possibly could about China. He wanted to read every book about China, learn all the things he could. And he learned that in China, they have a lot of hard beds. So he decided he was not going to sleep on a mattress anymore. He was going to sleep on the floor. And he learned that he needed to be strong. So he began to do exercises so he could be strong. He read books and began to learn languages, especially started to work on Chinese because he wanted to be able to talk to the people when he got there. Well, he heard about a pastor who had a book about China. And he went to the pastor and asked to borrow it because he needed to know everything he could about China. And the pastor said, "Why do you need this book?" Hudson said, "I know that God is calling me to be a missionary in China, and I need to learn everything I can about it." The pastor said, "Are you sure?" Hudson still didn't really look all that great. He still was kind of small and still kind of sickly. And Hudson said, "I know this is where God wants me to go, so I'm just trying to get ready for it." As he read this book, he learned that a lot of the people in China are sick. They need medical care too, and they don't have much money. And so he thought, it probably would be a good thing for me to learn more about medicine. Now, he knew some because he had mixed medicines and worked for his dad, but he needed to learn more from a doctor. So he found a doctor, Dr. Richard Harding, and the doctor said that he would take Hudson on as an apprentice, someone who could study along with him. So Hudson moved near the doctor and he began to go around with him, and he would work in the office with him. And on Sunday afternoons, they would travel to the poorer areas, and Hudson would spend time praying and talking with some of the people and helping them with their medical needs too. And it wasn't always a safe thing, though, for him to go on Sundays to these areas, and you're going to have to come back next week to find out.
I like this story.
Yeah?
This is a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, we are going to go today and review some people who we've already looked at in the past.
Yep.
And so I think you'll recognize them. We might be a little partial to them.
We might know them really well.
Mm-hmm. So here we have Dave and Gloria and Levy. It's been a few months since we have given you any update on them. And so we have seen them recently. They came here to Minnesota late August, early September. And then we went out to where they live for a week of training just a couple weeks ago. So we're going to tell you what is up with them right now. Here's a picture Alyssa took of them at the ABW headquarters where they work. And here's a picture of a family that was at our church back when Pastor Levy was with us in September. This is one of the families that they did the Story of Hope with, that evangelistic tool, Bible study. This is one of the families that they did it with and really responded well to, and this is part of what convinced them to become part of this ministry. And so this is a family that grew up going to church, but they didn't really have a good understanding of Scripture and really who God was and what His plan was for mankind. And so it was after calling Pastor Levy and asking him some questions that they agreed to do the Bible study and really responded well. And now they are part of the church there, and they are actively serving, and they are leading other people through this Bible study that the Levys took them through. And so it was neat to meet them and to hear their story and to see how these tools that the Levys are teaching people how to use actually work really well. While he was with us, he also came to our Christian school in the area and taught us how to remember the events in the Old Testament through 12 different motions, actions. And so this is a picture of him teaching that to the kids. During this, 3-4 weeks that he was here in the Midwest, he put on about 6,000 miles and was in the car for over 111 hours.
Phew. It's a lot of traveling.
Yep. But that is a big part of their ministry right now. They live in Pennsylvania, but a lot of what they do is go around to churches to train pastors and church people and to raise financial and prayer support right now for their ministry. And so it requires a lot of time on the road that they otherwise may not be doing. Here's a view from their headquarters in Pennsylvania. So we told you a little bit about their area last time, But here is an actual picture from where they are. Their headquarters is up on a hill in Pennsylvania, and so they have a good view out over this valley area, and it's really pretty. So here at the ABWE headquarters, when we were there for training, Pastor Levy was one of the trainers, and I'll let Alyssa tell you more about that.
Yeah, so when he goes around, he teaches people how to use different materials and how to help them think through discipleship and how they can help someone who doesn't know much about the Bible, or who maybe knows some things about the Bible, but help them understand God's plan from Genesis through Revelation and how he wants to have a personal relationship with us. So while we were at the conference, we got to hear my dad do some of the teaching as he was team teaching with a few other people. It was fun to see him share and for him to be able to be up there teaching and being excited about what motivates him to do what he does every day and what they're raising support to continue to do on the road. And that is continue to train churches, to train leaders with the gospel story of how to help people trust Christ as their Savior. It was also really fun for us to see my dad get to meet Pastor Ariel, the man on the left. He's from the Philippines. You might recognize him. We talked about him a few times, but he's a really good friend of ours. And we were excited to see him too. And my dad got to meet him and see his enthusiasm for sharing the good news of the gospel with people all over the world. But they even got to work together a little bit at the training seminar to teach, like team teaching, taking turns here and there throughout the seminar.
And hopefully, sometime in the near future, he will get to go to the Philippines to spend some time doing some training with Pastor Ariel there.
Yeah, so that is my parents, Dave and Gloria and Levy, and they are currently in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. They only have a couple more trips scheduled for this year to go out to churches to do some training, but we can always pray for them to have health and safety as they do a lot of traveling. And then they do have a couple online Bible studies that they're doing right now, and so they've asked for prayer that we will pray that they'll still be able to have those and have build good connections with people even if they're not right with them.
So they live in another part of our country right here, a lot different from Minnesota, but still a different part of the country, the U.S. But their ministry is not just here in the States, but they really have an international reach, and that will continue to increase as the months and years go by and as COVID gets a little less crazy.
That would be nice.
So that is what they do.
Hopefully found our hidden object today.
I'm sure they did.
Somewhere in the back. It's kind of a fun one. And thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the first part of our new story and a little bit about Peru. So tune in next week for a little more. You can leave us a comment below if you learned something new, or if there's something you want to know about Peru, because I haven't made all the videos yet, so you can always ask something.
Yep.
And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.